Hey, what's up, guys? I just want to give you a quick update. Back in Iowa for another week or so before I head over to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Pretty pumped to head to that part of the world. And I'm really excited to share this interview with you with my good friends and e-commerce expert, guru, legend, Adrian Brambila. And he's going to share a lot of the stories and experiences from his life, including touring with T-Pain. We recorded this interview in the fall right before I left originally to go backpacking, so if the content is a little bit outdated, that would be why. But I'm really pumped to share this with you guys and look forward to hearing your thoughts. Ciao.
Oh, shit, Adrian! What's up, bro?
We're making connections here on the Ask Gary Vee show.
I know this girl.
Hi, my name is Trevor Carlson, and I'm the host of The Formula, where we break down the elements of health, wealth, and happiness in guests from all over the world. And today, I have an awesome guest with me.
What's up? It's Adrian Brambila.
Adrian and I are going to sit down and talk about lessons learned from becoming a professional dancer, touring with T-Pain, building multiple businesses, traveling, e-commerce, working remote, all kinds of really awesome stuff. So I look forward to you guys tuning in to this episode.
This episode is brought to you by Ladyboss. Ladyboss is the first global weight loss and support community for women. Their mission is to help women lose weight while loving themselves. They help women get their confidence back, improve the overall quality of their life, and change the health of the entire family. They do this through providing the best information, products, and services possible in fitness, nutrition, and accountability. Ladyboss. Over 1,309,573 women supported and counting. To sign up for Ladyboss, head to the sponsored products page on the FormulaPodcast.com. Now, back to the show.
All right, so on this week's episode of The Formula, I have with me former infamous robot dancer, Adrian Brambila. Adrian, thanks for taking the time to hang out and chat today.
Of course. My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me. I've listened to your podcast. You've had some really awesome guests, so hope to live up to that high standard that you got.
Are you plugging yourself since you were a guest before?
Well, I feel like it was like a dual. It was another guest on the store, on the shop. Oh my gosh, on the podcast, and so they kind of raised the roof. I was kind of like maybe the third string.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably agree. You're definitely swinging in last in that show. We've known each other for a little while, and one thing I've always been curious about. I mean, I know how you went through the process of, getting on YouTube and kind of teaching yourself how to dance in the living room, but like, why did you get into dancing in the first place? Yeah,
so in high school, I feel like I always wanted to learn how to dance. There was this like hip hop club at lunchtime. I was like fascinated by the b-boys like spinning on their backs, like the style of robot dancing is called popping, so like that. But I was always afraid to try and join them. And then when I got a little more confidence in myself, towards like my junior senior year, I did try. But then I had unfortunately I feel like I was bullied a little bit, and I had a fear, and that like put me in a little box of like fear of like trying new things. I was known as like a soccer player, and that's all I did. And when I tried dancing and taking it seriously, people kind of blew it off. Even my closest friends, and not that they meant to do it or not, but so like then I always wanted to dance. Then when I went to school, that was in Southern California. I went to school in Iowa, at Dubuque, University of Dubuque, and it was a very random move. I only planned to go for 2 years, and for some reason it gave me this fresh new feeling that I have a fresh new plate, and one of the things I want to do is learn how to dance. And out of all the places to learn in the world, I would have been way better to learn in California, but I actually learned how to dance in Iowa from watching YouTube videos. And I'm sure we'll get into this story later, but that changed my whole life. I had no idea that this like little side passion was gonna like make such a huge impact on my life, like later all along the lines.
Yeah, so I hear a lot of people talk about like, I want to learn how to do this. I want to learn how to do that. Or as soon as I get this, or as soon as I can afford it, I'm going to learn how to do whatever. It's a new language, learn how to dance. Mm-hmm. And one thing I've noticed about you from the time that we've spent together is you're like, you don't really say like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that sometime. You just kind of do it, right? So how did you go through the process of actually just like, you know, pulling up the YouTube, well, I sound like my grandma. Sorry, Grandma. When you pulled up YouTube and you started watching those training videos, what do you think is the difference between like how you took that approach versus how a lot of these other people that maybe talk about learning these skills but don't actually do it?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing in college and any area of your life, I think people underestimate how much time they actually do have. It's more of like a mental block of what they think they can do. And in college, most people fill their times with going to class, doing homework, and unfortunately, just as much time partying and drinking. And so my freshman year, I did all those things, and I don't know why. I feel like I can give credit to my parents because for some reason at 18 years old, I realized how much of a disservice it was to my parents who paid for my college to spend that much time drinking and partying. And I literally don't know why. I'm not this saint of a kid. That something hit me in the face of like, dude, you shouldn't do that. It's like wasting your parents' hard-earned money, because my parents didn't graduate, and my dad's came from Mexico, so like they have this like whole life, like they always wanted me to go to college. So for me to waste my time doing that, I did it for a semester, and then in my free time when people spend drinking and partying, which is a lot in college, that's when I just started exploring different things. So I tried guitar, ukulele, singing. I was really bad at all those, and then I joined different clubs, and then I went to a b-boy battle in Madison, Wisconsin. It's called Breaking the Law, and I was the very first one, and that's when my eyes were like, oh my God, these guys are sick. Like head spins, backflips, dope poppers, like it like really inspired me. And from there, you can't really like go to a dance studio in Iowa and learn how to do the robot. So then I went to YouTube and I just started searching up dance videos, and then it quickly became a very awesome addiction where like I would be dancing every single day. And I'm gonna fast forward 2 years of doing that, and you imagine all the time you spent partying in college, for those of you who are graduated or looking back, and imagine you spent all that time focusing on like a craft like dance. I got really good really fast. Going into a little bit my story of how it changed my life drastically, there was an open call audition to tour with T-Pain. And I was a living room dancer. I performed once at the University of Dubuque talent show. I had no experience. I was strictly a living room dancer. I sent a video, and T-Pain and his crew ended up taking 30 people to a live audition in Florida. So that was I already thought I was on top of the world just by making it to the audition. I didn't think I was going to make it. And T-Pain, out of those 30 dancers, was going to take 2 dancers to go on this world tour with him. Then the audition was set up like a battle. If you're so not in the dance world, a battle is not a violent thing. It's not like the movies. Actually, there's a very strong rule in dance battles that you actually don't touch each other. So it's not a violent thing. And the audition was set up as a battle. That played in my favor because I couldn't do choreography. I still can't to this day. And then it was every single day out of the 3-day audition, they were cutting people, and then at the very last day it was 10 people, and it was like I for sure was going home. I was so satisfied with everything. I was ready to just go back to Iowa, and then T-Pain ended up taking all 10 dancers, and then that's where like my life changed. Like 2 months later, I was doing school remote. And then we moved to Atlanta for like I can remember a month or more to start training and for the world tour, and then some crazy stuff happened. Hopefully we'll get into it later.
Yeah, so I have a bunch of questions now, so first one is with these dance battles, because you've done. I mean, me and you have had a dance battle. I clearly won that. When you have these like dance battles that go on. What do you think? I mean, because I'm assuming you beat all the people that you were up against, right, to get to that point with the top 10, right? So what do you think is like? What are the keys to winning a dance battle? Like, what what goes into that gives you a bit of an edge?
I think you have to play to the context of the audience, and typically a battle, and in this audition also has judges too. And so a judge is looking through the lens of like your technique and your musicality and your performance ability. Performance is the biggest one in an audition, especially for a tour, because you're gonna be on stage in front of people. And if you're dancing, you're looking at your feet the whole time, like you're not gonna vibe with anyone in the crowd. You're supposed to look like you're having a blast, because people, when they buy a ticket to a concert, like they're usually like saved a lot of money. Concert tickets aren't cheap, and they're here to like this is one of the reasons that like they feel like they're living life, like to enjoy that moment. So it's like you have to embody that, right? In a normal, like they call them battles or jams actually, and typically it's like when you're dancing you have a balance of they call it like throw down and get down. And so like a get down would be like your foundation of the dance. It's nothing fancy. It's like dancing on beat, and you're moving and it's like grooving. People are nodding their head like, hey, that guy's getting it, right? And then throw down is like a sick move, a backflip, or some type of matrix move or whatever, right? So a windmill, but it's having a balance of. I think the best dancers have a balance of that. That's how you win a battle, because some dancers, I think if you go to a club and like a regular white boy club, and there's a battle breaks out, like someone will do a backflip and then everyone's like, oh, that guy won, he did a backflip. But that's not really how it goes, because like a big move like that, like you only have so many big moves, and that's not really dancing. That's just like tricking, right? That's just performing a big move, and then if you do another backflip, it's not as glamorous as the first time. Right. So you're running out of those. So that's why you have to put in the real art of the dance in between that, and then have those pivotal moments where you do that really sick move, because you've been building up your through your other style to get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just having flashbacks to our dance battle when you were going so hard that you pulled something afterwards. I mean, I must have brought my A game for you to try that hard that day. I was only a little embarrassed.
Fake news, bro.
Okay, so you go on this tour with T-Pain, right? What I'm gonna ask this just because I already know the answer, but what do you think you learned while you were on that tour that really impacted kind of your trajectory of your life from there?
I learned within the first week that I did not want to be a professional dancer. And that was a big shock to me, because part of going to school is you're trying to figure out your vocation, what to do. And dance was so new to me. I was really considering the idea of like, I'm going to be a full-time dancer. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to be in music videos. Like, this is the dream life. Like, so many people don't starve to try to get to here. And I just got so lucky to do it in 2 years, because there's people way better than me dancing their whole lives trying to do what I just did. Why I learned that is because the environment of a dancer, out of all the hierarchy of like entertainment, the dancer is like the bottom of the totem pole. And you get treated with no respect, basically. First, let me just say, like, T-Pain inspired me to be where I am today, so I have mad respect for him. He was awesome. He hung out with us, invited us, he cooked for us at his house. Texted us, knew us on a first name basis. It was cool. But I think, an artist is the talent, and that's why they hire other staff to handle the dancers and everyone else. And sometimes when you leave from that, like, I guess CEO or artist, that's where maybe some of the corruption comes in. And so within the first week, I saw things that I didn't like. Every day, like, there was constant array of alcohol and partying. Some people, that was awesome. Like, some people live for that stuff. Like, that's actually one of the reasons I started dancing, was to get away from that stuff. I saw, worse stuff than alcohol. I thought some girls were being taken advantage of, and it wasn't a healthy environment. And the truth is, as a dancer, as a performer, you are dancing 5% maybe of the time that you're there. 95% of the time you're not on stage, right? So like, there's a lot of drama with that. And it's like when you get to escape the 9 to 5, when you're doing an art, when you're an athlete, and I would call these dancers athletes, like sometimes you lose track of like reality a little bit, and you're in your own world where you think you can do anything. And I think that's where the lines where the dancers are treated, and in this camp, I'm not saying all dance artists are like this or groups are like this, but in my experience it was. And so that when I learned that the first week, I thought my ideas switched to, okay, so I don't want to be a dancer, but what are the biggest takeaways I can get from here? And that's when I tried to start making more conversation with T-Pain and the management, and started learning more from the business side. I didn't know why. I just knew that like I can't just dance and then leave. Like I know I'm here with, T-Pain is actually a really successful entrepreneur. Like I could learn a lot from him and the people here. So I just tried to learn the most of it. And at that point in time, I didn't know how it was going to impact me, but it impacted me profoundly to be an entrepreneur, to do YouTube. One thing that was really fascinating to me was like T-Pain would, in his prime, he launched this app. It was like an auto-tune app.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that thing had millions of downloads. Like when he would release a song, it'd have millions of downloads within like 10 minutes. So like I was constantly watching him launch stuff and have millions of downloads. And basically in other words, I watched him make millions of dollars within, minutes. And like that to me was always, that was like one of the things I was always most fascinated by. It's like, how do you do that? That's insane to do that. So a lot of inspiration came from him, and I'm always gonna be grateful for the opportunity he gave me and the other dancers there too.
Yeah, you've always spoken really highly of your experience with him in general. And when you called into the Ask Gary Vee show, that was when he was like, Adrian. that was awesome. Yeah, so there was one lesson specifically that I know we've talked about in the past, and that was when he launched that song, and you saw him get like the million downloads in, I don't know, how long was it?
It's like minutes, right?
Minutes?
Yeah, like 10 minutes. Like, yeah, so like, I don't know what, I haven't downloaded a song on iTunes in a while, but like back then it was 99 cents a download. So million downloads, $1 million on a digital, that's what music is, a digital product, right? Obviously there's overhead, but it's digital, so it's not as much overhead as a physical product. So like that ability always fascinated me, of like building a tribe, an audience, and then being able to literally click a button and then have all these people just waiting for you to release something new because they are like true fans, ready to join, buy, sign up, whatever he really, like there's still people this day, T-Pain's still grinding, so it's like he'll do something and like he says fan for years, decades now. Like I remember dancing to his songs in high school. Like there's people that no matter what he does, he could release a product, a backpack, a shoe, it doesn't matter, people are gonna buy that. So like that to me I would take away as the biggest like inspiration to try to replicate in some regard, and I feel like I have in different areas of my life, which is awesome. And I didn't know then, but I can attribute to like why I've always wanted to do that, to like seeing that. So yeah, it's been pretty awesome.
Yeah. So what happened from there? So you were a dancer, and then I know you got into doing your like YouTube tutorial videos, which sounds like your inspiration kind of came from seeing a lot of those digital products bought when you were on tour. So how did you kind of make that transition? Because I feel like there's something in there about how you got your marketing degree, and then you're like, no one will hire me to do marketing or something like that.
Yeah, that's great, because I feel like I just painted a really cool dude in college that like, oh, I'm dancing with T-Pain, I'm so cool. But they were like, that was a freaking awesome part of my life. When that ended, I ended it so I could stay on 4 years to graduate, because I had a conversation with my parents of like, hey, I got this opportunity here, I'm not going to graduate on time anymore, and like I could tell they were like, it wasn't a good conversation, right? Like, because like just I think their traditional values. In hindsight, I'm really glad that they said that, because I am glad that I did stay on the 4-year path to graduate. I know like right now my opinions on college are, a raise, college worth it, but it's a big part of my life, and I came from on top of the world dancing with T-Pain, and came back to University of Dubuque, small private college, 2,000 kids, and then I graduated, and in that senior year, I started my YouTube channel. I started posting my dance videos. I started posting dance tutorials, and I didn't know where I was going to go, but I just felt like an outlet to reach people like T-Pain did, basically. By the time I graduated, I had like 10,000 followers on YouTube, and then I thought, I think for sure I had an ego that came with the dancing of like, because I mean, especially in Iowa, where like that's so random and bizarre. I mean, maybe in LA that's more common to have some entertainment experience, but out here in Iowa, I was applying for internships at very traditional institutions, and like to say that I put dance with T-Pain on my resume, and it was for like some sales job, but still it made conversation. And I definitely had an ego, and I thought when I graduate, I'm going to go straight to be a marketing director at an agency. And that's when I think it was like, I wouldn't say rock bottom, but I would say it was a struggle. I didn't have a job for 6 months after I graduated. I was constantly applying, and I could not get anywhere to be a entry-level marketing position. And I even had one job interview, and it was at a big place in Dubuque, very traditional, they're like an insurance company or whatever. And the marketing director across from me, he even like made fun of me. He was like, so you got 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, but do you actually make money? Like, what's the point of that? Like, how does that relate to marketing? And I could not believe it. I didn't have the confidence that I do now. So I said, well, it's, I try to explain it to him versus like now I'd be like, dude, you have no idea what marketing is. If like how much power that is to have that audience. But, yeah. So then eventually I had to get a job. So I got a job at Prudential Retirement. My salary was like, $27K or $30K a year. And then, it was like a job I literally clock out of at 3 PM. And then that's where I feel like was the big grind where I would clock out at 3, and then from 3 to like 9 every single day, I built my very first e-commerce store, and it was based off dance. And I built my very first digital products, and it was selling like a premium dance tutorial. I had like 4 dance tutorials that were like an hour long each on how to do popping.
Why do you think that they didn't hire you? Why do you think all these people let you go without bringing you in? Because I've heard, okay, so one quick story. Tim McDougall, and he used to run Fusion Farm, which was a agency tied to a newspaper. And he said that he interviewed, I don't know if he interviewed you or his team interviewed you, and then you sent him a pizza with your resume attached to it afterwards, or a thank you letter.
Yeah. So
I feel like that would have encouraged me to hire you. I'd been like, damn, this guy's creative and he's like, going above and beyond. But
so yeah, I think that fast tracks from where I left off. So Prudential Retirement, 2 years go by, and then we moved to Cedar Rapids, and then now I actually have a somewhat successful e-commerce store. It's making $1,000 a month profit, and my YouTube channel is up to like 50,000 subscribers, and I'm monetizing in other ways too. And I also took on some business, like very small businesses, even restaurants, to try to get experience, and I was marketing them. So I had my mini little portfolio that I thought was good enough to get into an agency. I came to Cedar Rapids and I applied to every single agency, and I got accepted every single place except for 2 places. One was where Tim McDougall worked, and to get into, because they didn't have any options available, I feel like my confidence was way higher, so I was doing things that were way outside the norm. So I sent a pizza to there at lunchtime, and I put a resume on the inside of the box. When they opened it, it was there. Hopefully it didn't get greasy. But I sent it, and like he reached out to it, and he still remembers that. Now, at that point in time, I can say this confidently, because I was running my own ads, and I knew the value of $1. I would spend $100, and if I wouldn't make it back, that'd really hurt. And so I really, that's really small numbers, but like I was learning how to spend money online and make at least that money back or more. And that alone, I felt like I knew more about digital marketing and how how to get tangible results than any person that worked in an agency in this area. And so when I sent that resume to Tim, there was another guy there who reached out to me. He's like, hey, well, we don't have a position, but you can be a free intern for us. And that's where I was like, at that point, I was like, no, I'm not that desperate. Like, obviously, I couldn't live off my e-commerce, so I'd be eating top ramen every day. But I applied. I interviewed a few places, and then there was one agency that I did get in, and I loved that agency. Gave me a huge opportunity because they had a little bit of business, and they did not know exactly what they were doing, and they were open-minded enough to take someone else to come in there and really write how they should do business. And that's what I was able to do. I think when I first came in there, their annual revenue for digital services was like around 120K. By the time I left, it was like almost 600K. And that was a time span of over 3 years.
Damn. That's not a bad ROI then.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah.
So you talked about, so we talked about the story with Fusion Farm, but a lot of these other places, like they just kind of like wrote you off, right? Mm-hmm. So why do you think that it was so hard for them to, like, because I don't know, from my perspective, if I see somebody that's like driven and like trying or like has some, you know, motivation and clearly some skills around it, why do you think that they passed on you?
I have to make a lot of assumptions, but I think now that I currently own an agency and I go head to head with these other agencies, now that I've met other agency owners and now I have a course where I actually teach marketers. I teach agency owners now. So I feel like I'm more equipped to answer that versus just a ego pride question. But I think in specifically this niche of doing marketing services, whether it's traditional or digital, there is a lot of things that change, and businesses are not, it's not necessarily the staff's fault, but the business doesn't have a culture that allows people to test and fail. So a lot of things are created from that fear of change, fear of someone else walking in there who is younger that might know more than the director, where in a results-oriented business, a non-traditional business where time is valued but results are valued, age doesn't really matter. It's what you can do, and a lot of cultures are not like that. A lot of cultures are, hey, you're here, put your time in, sit at your desk. You know, over a time span of a year, you might get promoted. Versus, what can you do? What can you actually do with Facebook? How does YouTube help a small business, and can you actually provide results for our clients? Because the cultures like that are rewarded based on what you actually produce. I think that's the main reason why companies may not want to hire someone who maybe didn't even go to college but has their own e-commerce store or that is doing well, because that's tradition. They're like in the middle or the gray, or they're still stuck in the past of that traditional values matter. And I do have the opinion now that like it's very difficult to graduate from college and with a marketing degree and actually know how to market today. Yeah. That's really tough.
Yeah, it's very theoretical, right? It's like, it's almost like you're building, like they teach you how to, like, I don't even think they do the best job of this. Hopefully there's not a lot of marketing professors watching. And the thing is like, I think there's a lot of very gifted marketing professors, but then they're given these textbooks that they're like, you know, right, let's put together a customer persona. And it's like, you know, just try to sell something to them first, right, maybe. But it's all theoretical. There's not really like, these college students aren't given like $100, like here's $100, go run a Facebook ad, right? Go figure it out. Mm-hmm. Like no one is doing that, and then they step out into the real world, and then first interview is like, okay, what do you know about Facebook ads? They're like, well, I clicked on some.
Right, exactly, right. And yeah, that, you know, we're not going to solve that problem today, but if someone is listening, how do you learn about digital marketing? How do you learn about selling stuff online? Because I think it is the most valuable skill set you have as an entrepreneur or just making extra income. I was always in college, we're taught that if you know how to sell, you'll always have a job. And I don't know if this is taken yet, but I need to put my name on this quote. But like, if you know how to sell online, you'll never need a job. Yeah. Because like now make like there's tons of different ways you can make money online if you know how to use a platform like Facebook, YouTube, or Google to sell something. Like you can sell something and be an affiliate. Like Amazon has an affiliate program. That's one example I talk about, where it's like if you give a link to a product on Amazon, someone buys it, you make a little commission. Granted, it's very small, but there's bigger commissions at different companies. If you know how to sell online, you can make a big impact on a business. So you're good to be in an agency, to do services, to have a job, if that's what you want to do. But that skill set of creating something online that gets someone to want to take out their wallet or hit a submit button is so powerful. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. So when you figure that out for yourself, it's a game changer.
Yeah. Just understanding even how the numbers work, like being able to put together a spreadsheet and be like, okay, if I invest this much, this is how much I get back. And it's like, okay, well, once you get that part to work, it's like, how much can you afford to put in the front to get it out of the backside?
Exactly.
Yeah, so there's all right, I'm trying to piece together the story. So agency, you're in Cedar Rapids, you started an agency. And then I know now where you're at now with like you have multiple e-commerce stores, you have your classes. So how do you get from agency to starting these classes and teaching people your area of expertise?
The thing about the agency world in a service-oriented business, like if I'm so good at marketing and a business is going to pay me to do marketing, if I'm so good, why am I not marketing my own stuff, right? That's something I think about. And so I got into the agency world first by having my own stores. And then what's funny is, 3 years ago, I started my own agency. And the clients that I have right now are like a lot of financial institutions, and I have a lot of NDAs, and I really can't talk about them, which kind of sucks because we do some really good work. So one way I thought, it's like, well, what's one way I can say, you can't just say I'm really good at this. No, especially there's so many bad marketing firms out there that are like all saying the same thing. How do you stand out? So I thought, what if I create these like very documented public experiments to sell random things online and sell a lot of them, and I'm going to use that as my PR, as my buzz to market. And it has been a fascinating journey. One of the first public experiments I did was, and I have this on the wall back here, is selling like pink beanies when that Women's March movement happened. I sold so many of them, hundreds of them. Like in the time span of 30 days, sold like $18,000 worth. And I documented every single step of how I did it. And through that, I actually got businesses for my agency, because I'd posted on LinkedIn, I'd posted on Facebook, I even ran some ads to it. And that's just such a fascinating concept that breaks through the norm of like what marketing is. People think about like, oh, marketing, like when a business is short on sales or has a down year, they cut the marketing budget. It's insane. And it's insane to me because marketing is sales to me online. Yep. And most businesses, they think marketing is like an expense when it's really an investment to make more. Yeah. So if I have a very traditional person who happens to come across my video, it's like, wait, what the heck? How did this guy sell $18,000 worth of pink beanies and there's lots of profit in there. I think it was 60%. And like I take him through that story of like, this stuff works. Yeah. I'm gonna prove it to you right now. And here's a data-driven approach to do that. And then I've sold tons of other things where like the more recent one was when I sold $10,000 worth of the dog masks to Eagles fans for the Super Bowl. And that one really blew up all my followings online. Because the Super Bowl, that can relate to everyone. And when you watch the Super Bowl, and anytime they did a pan of the audience, my dog masks were right there, right? So that got me a lot of street cred too. But things I believe in now, it's like marketing online can make a huge impact on your business. And if you're doing marketing and you're not receiving leads or revenue, then it's not that you're doing it wrong, but there's a better way to do it,
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember I think I helped you pack up the dog mask. That was awesome.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. I'll take my affiliate cut off that at any point in time.
Yeah.
So moving into your classes, right? So you've done really well with search engine conquest, and I've seen a lot of these other. I've had this conversation with a bunch of other people, and I know you get kind of a little fired up when they're like, "Oh, he's a drop shipper," and you're like, those are fighting words, man. But I've seen a lot of these other guys, and we've even talked about this, how some of them just are like blatantly dishonest about what their students for their classes have done, right? Or the way that they're marketing it is just like complete and like, I would call it like fraudulent, maybe. Maybe that's a really strong word, but yours, on the other hand, like when I see your stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, like you're literally like, oh yeah, no, here's a screenshot, here's a video of all this stuff, here's like the boxes of all these things. You've done exceptionally well. And maybe I'm answering my own question. Is that like you're just very transparent about it, right? You're transparent about the entire process. So I think maybe it builds trust.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, what happens when you're good at marketing online? If you've ever clicked on or dived into the darker world of the internet, where you get into this the categories of how to make an extra $500. You can drive down the road and some dude in a cardboard wrote in Sharpie, want an extra $500 a month? Call this number. There's literally signs on that on street posts. So it's that world is super shady. It's super shady, and what's unfortunate is people are taking the skill sets of what sales do online, and then they're creating content on teaching you how to do that, and then people are unfortunately really good at selling the dream of what could you do with an extra $5,000 a month? I'll show you how to do that. And my course is a technical course. I teach search engine marketing, and how you apply that search engine marketing can be to the concept of drop shipping. For those who don't know, it's if I was going to sell this coffee mug, and instead of me buying 100 of them, I would sell it on my website, and I'd have a predetermined negotiated price, wholesale price, or dropship price where I could sell this or buy it from the manufacturer for $5 and I sell it for $10. And so when the customer gets it, I make a profit of $5. So that's the concept of drop shipping. People can apply my course to that. People can apply that to generating leads for businesses, service. So how people apply it's up to them. But there's lots of courses online that'll teach you about marketing, but they are kind of sketchy in the sense where the content may not be good, but what they do is they hook onto your emotional curiosity and dreams of being financially free. Is it true? I've created financial freedom from this stuff, but when I talk about my course, I'm usually not I don't hop out of a Lambo, next to my mansion and be like, do you want to live a life of luxury and drink champagne? Because it's funny, but that's how people are trying to grab on to those, I think, very superficial tactics of marketing, where if I'm selling my course, I actually don't necessarily say buy my course is a really good marketing firm. I'm showcasing my documentaries of all right, in the next watch this 3-minute video, because I'm going to take you on a journey of where I sold $10,000 of a dog mask, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. And my courses, again, is all about consumer behavior. I feel like it is truly a marketing course versus a get-rich-quick scheme, which I think that's where the lines are in between. And I think this is it should be put into all of our brains as much as possible. It's if anyone is trying to sell you something and right away they talk about financial freedom and it's quick and you can make a lot of money really fast, it's usually a bad thing. I've never joined an MLM, but I don't want to put you on the spot, but MLMs are bad. In college, I was approached. And that's a multi-level marketing. Typically, that's what they do. It's do you want to be your own boss and make lots of money and be financially free, make money while you sleep? Because it's sad, because that's things that happened for me. how you get there, it's not easy as 1, 2, 3. You have to learn actually how to use an advertising platform and do research, like it's data backed. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people are selling this dream and they're preying on the hopes of people that are potentially in desperate situations and can't see clearly, right? Yeah. But have you ever joined a multi-level marketing?
No.
Liar.
Yeah, I sold Cutco knives.
You know, you probably got some good experience out of it. I just want to give a forewarning, like if people start looking up like how to do affiliate marketing or drop shipping, just to be careful because there's bad places, there's bad businesses out there and they cling onto your emotions like a lot of MLMs do. You know, when people ask me like what is the easiest way to make money online, I do think is the concept of affiliate marketing where you're selling someone else's products online and you still have there's a learning curve if you've never done anything with marketing before. So it's like once you get the right knowledge, like it is possible to make an extra $500,000 or more. But it's a journey to get to the point where you can confidently spend $1 online and at least make that dollar back. You know, I have students who take my course who have zero experience and they do well. Now they're making extra income and their goal is to supplement their main job. But no one's doing that in a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, right? Especially if you have no experience. But I think if you are someone who does want to make extra income, like for sure, learning how to sell online using a platform like Facebook and Google is, I think, a worthy investment. You'll have fun learning it too, I think.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to get started learning how to, you know, let's say they know absolutely nothing about online marketing or selling things online, how would they get started? How would they get started educating themselves? Where would you recommend they go?
Before that person buys anything, I think there's so much free stuff online. Like there's free material on YouTube. There's so much. It's overwhelming. So I think it's a Google search and a YouTube search of getting started. One plug, so Shopify is a platform that is, I think, the easiest non-tech friendly, right? That's the right way. Someone who's non-techie. Yeah. Non-tech friendly website that you can create to sell stuff online, and it's $29 a month. And if you look up Shopify, how to use Shopify, they actually created a free guide, and it's great, like just introduction. So we can leave links for that. I do have a couple other free resources that I could drop as well, but I think you don't have to drop, you know, a college course amount of money to get started. There's so many people that are creating free content, including myself out there, that you can just get started there and you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot if you just spent like 20, 30 minutes a day just reading or watching. So much free stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. 10 years ago, like it wasn't like that. So it's awesome. Anyone can, with any background, can get started if they really wanted to.
Yeah, and I think it also comes down to like actually dedicating the time to it. Mm-hmm. Like if you say, I mean, we had this conversation once, but if you say like, I'm going to do this thing, and then you put an hour into it a week or every 2 weeks, you know, you're probably not going to go anywhere with it. Right. And you're going to get to the end of a few months and be like, I suck at this. I'm no good at it. When in reality, it's just like you haven't put any time into it.
I don't know if a lot of people are saying this if you get this topic, but I think that I think everyone does have the time to learn something new. And I think right now the death of that is Facebook scrolling. I really think people are spending way too much time mind-numbingly scrolling through social media platforms when that could be applied to take on an extra project. Because like if I really take the time to like talk to someone, you know, we're like, I don't have the time. Like if I really want to, if it's a student, for example, like I actually will take the time to be like, all right, let's walk through what you did today. Mm-hmm. And like trying to fill the gaps of hours. It's like, dude, what's going on between here that you didn't have time to do it? And it's like, it's wasting time, you know? And like for anyone who binge watched Netflix, like, dude, you could have read it for an hour of that.
Yeah, I know.
You know, so I think what it comes down to is discipline. I think we all have lots of time. Like, sure, there's gonna be exceptions of like the working single mom who has multiple kids. It's like hard, but like I think for most of us, we do have time. We just don't have the right discipline to do it.
Yeah, for me, I have to plan for that time. Like if I'm gonna do it, like I have to make sure that I'm, you know, like I can't just wait until the day of and be like, oh yeah, sometime today I'm gonna learn how to do this. And then it's like, you know, you get to the end of the day and you're like, oh shit, I forgot. You know, or you're like, man, I ran out of time. And if I just would have said, hey, can I take 15 minutes and just like get started on this? Like block out 15 minutes. I know right after lunch I'm gonna sit by myself and watch a YouTube video on, you know, how the Facebook pixel works or something, you know?
Yeah. One thing I did, and you know, sorry for any friends who are listening, it'll give you an explainer why I never comment or barely comment on your stuff, is over the time span of like 3 months, it honestly took me, and sorry for being really graphic, but when I go to the bathroom, I bring my phone in. And so 3 months of doing that, every time I go in the bathroom, I would unfollow most of my friends who posted garbage.
Yeah.
And then I would like all the business people and books and all the groups. And I would there's a setting on Facebook where you click on see first.
Yeah.
So when I go on Facebook, I'd say 85% of my news feed is actually like knowledge of like business, posts from people who are posting content about what I want to learn about. So I actually don't see a lot of like really dumb stuff on Facebook. I still, you know, granted within that 15%, there's still dumb stuff that comes up, but I'm still constantly curating my list. And it is like the best news. And I learn the most now from my Facebook feed. And it took a long time to do that. But you know, I have some friends who would be like, dude, you're not even following me on this. It's like, doesn't matter. Like, I'm not going to be liking every single post of yours because I'm trying to use that time to learn. When you do digital marketing, you know, it's very hard because I'm on Facebook to do work, and all in the past, like something would pop up and then you lose track of time, and then, you know. Yeah, no,
I'm with you. I don't have the well, sometimes I take the Facebook app off my phone completely for a while though, but I actually need it for like some work stuff. Mm-hmm. So like I'll try to go as long as I can without having it on there until like I absolutely have to have it. Mm-hmm. And I'll just try to get to my desktop if I can, if I have work stuff that pops up on there, because that's like the worst thing is when you just like don't even think about it. You just like open your phone and like click on it, and then you're like, oh damn, 5 minutes just went by, and like I don't actually know what I used that time for.
Right.
So recently you and I just I'm gonna take it somewhere else now, but recently you and I and your wife Ashley were all in Prague together, and you've done a lot of traveling in your life. So, you know, I mean, Prague was awesome. You've been probably what, a few dozen countries?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you make it a point to travel a few times a year, mm-hmm. right? I like to talk about travel on the show just because I think it's like most people that listen to this type of stuff enjoy or like the idea of traveling, right?
Right.
So why do you travel so much?
I think the biggest reason why I travel is perspective. I think one of my favorite things of traveling is meeting new people. I hate this about myself, but when I travel, I feel like my outgoingness, my willingness to try new things, and the best parts of me get encouraged more. And it's, I don't know why, but like when I'm here at my home, like I'm not going to a coffee shop and trying to strike a conversation with the person next to me or in line. Where when I'm traveling, for some reason, I'm this huge social butterfly. I love that. Hopefully one day I can adopt those habits where I live. That excitement of like being somewhere new and that exploring factor. But perspective is the biggest one. Like I know I have come back from travel and I've kissed the ground and I was like, I love living in the USA. It's amazing. Some experiences have taught me to be mostly just really grateful. Like I think one of my pet peeves is people who complain in general, but specifically about first world problems. And I think Americans, we are so ignorant to some of the things we say and the complaints that we have. And I don't think you'll understand truly or ever catch yourself until you travel to a place that would love to have your problems. Like one thing, like we have in Europe, most people live like we in the US we made this movement called minimalism. In Europe, it's not a movement, it's way of life.
Yeah.
Right. And like that alone, like you have a fresh new perspective. It's like, you know what? These people are so happy and they have a fraction of what we have in things and materials, and like that right there is a learning lesson. Like I think when you travel, you just learn so much because you're everything is new, and when you have conversations, people have way different backgrounds than you, and I think I guess the last thing I'll say of like one reason why I love to travel is meeting new people, and just by having conversations with people who are completely different, you just have so much more appreciation for where you're at typically. I think actually if you're in the US and you travel outside the US, to most places, you'll have a profoundly new respect for everything that we have here, because I am under the opinion that if you live in the States, it is one of the best places, especially for entrepreneurs to do work. Even we're here in Iowa, right? And I feel like my whole life was built in Iowa, and so it's amazing to travel. You just learn so much from different people.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed a few things when we were in Prague, and I can I relate to everything you said about like I don't know. I felt like my first time in Prague though, my extroversion like went completely like rock bottom, which was like so uncomfortable for me because I'm like, I just want to talk to everyone, but I'm just gonna kind of take everything in a little with my sweaty ass backpack on and smelling terrible. But it's I noticed that like, so you talked about minimalism, right? Like, I don't really own much stuff. I never really have, just because I would rather go do stuff than like stay home and shine my toys or whatever. But while I was there, I noticed that like it seemed like more people were out doing stuff, less people were like engrossed in devices. I don't know if you noticed this as well, but that was what like really stood out to me. And then everyone just seemed like much more relaxed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I should comment some of the other things where I'm glad I live in the States versus elsewhere, and I love living here, but like some things that you also get a perspective on things that you really don't like too, right?
Yeah.
Like in Europe, I hate that a lot of people smoke.
Yeah.
A lot. Like
yeah.
That, and I hate smoking.
Yeah.
And at all ages, it's annoying. Like, but Prague actually has an amazing law I think we should adopt, where they have a zero alcohol tolerance policy.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. So it's like if you blow 0.000001, same thing as blowing, point whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that, like just like it's just the concept of like going somewhere and learning and then if you've never traveled before, like you're gonna find things that you love and you find things you hate too.
Yep.
It's like, yeah.
Why do you think people should travel in general? I know you covered a little bit, but maybe you can go deeper into that.
So, for sure, I keep saying the word perspective. To define that, it's trying to look at what you do on a day-to-day basis in an alternative or fresh new lens. We are, creatures of habit, so a lot of people are in a routine every single day, and so we lack. Sometimes we'll have perspective, we can lose that perspective too because we're so far from it. So, another reason I like to travel is to I say try to disconnect. I have a problem where when I travel, I usually will work a lot, and this trip that we went to recently in Prague, I worked the least amount, and I'm actually really proud to say that. And when I came back, I had all these new ideas. I have so much new action that I've taken that I probably never would have if I never had that ability to disconnect. And I think so disconnecting from what you do every single day can help you rejuvenate ideas, can help you feel remotivated.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to appreciation of what you do as well. Or if you can go to travel, you come back and maybe you don't appreciate what you have. So then hopefully that sparks a movement to change where you're at.
Yeah.
You know, I think the disconnecting factor for me helped me think about ideas that I once had that I never took action on. And specifically, I'm now doing things that I wasn't doing before I left, which are doing really well. So like that was really, really good for me too. One, just to mention it, that laptop lifestyle, it is incredible to not go into a brick and mortar and be able to work and make income passively or just not tied to a location. But the one problem that I've always had is since I made that transition is like it's very hard to disconnect too. Like I'm always thinking about work, and so sometimes like travel will help you kind of just clear your head. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more because like I mean there was times when you guys were out doing stuff and I'm like, no, I have to like sit here and work. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to be out, but at the same time like I don't know, it's like this decision, it's like this very strong decision that you have to make where if you're going to do this, like you have to dedicate the time. I think I spent probably, I don't know, there was probably 2 days where I spent most of like during the day, like, I don't know, 6 hours or so actually working. And then the rest of it was just kind of like check in at night or check in the morning. Right. But and the one, I don't know, it was weird because it was like, all right, I have to focus for this amount of time. And then there was no distractions. Like no one's calling me, no one's like trying to get a hold of me. So I was able to get much more done in the allotted time period. Mm-hmm. So it was, yeah, it has its drawbacks and its benefits, but I think it's definitely if you have to pick one or the other, I would definitely take the mobile lifestyle over the stationary one at any point in time.
Yeah, let's see, majority of my life still was spent working in a place where I had to go in and sit at a desk. And so, it's been 3 years, a little more than 3 years since I made that move. And it has been so awesome. It's been the best decision I ever made in terms of everything, in terms of happiness, in terms of decision-making, in terms of income. Like when you're on your own, you have you will hopefully value your time more and spend it on things that are more important. In theory, I do have friends who are also living that laptop style, and I think they shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. I've never told them, but I think they should have a manager because they lack that self-discipline. It comes down to that discipline again.
Yeah.
But like one thing that was like fascinating for me in this last year, it's been a really good year. Like I launched 2 different businesses. One was my course, and that did like over $100,000 in like the first 90 days. And then I also launched a subscription company, a SaaS company. And like that, in the first 2 weeks, I had over $10,000 in subscriptions. And now I have new problems because of both those businesses. Yeah. But they're amazing problems to have because I did not have them before. I didn't have the capacity to them before when I was working at a 9 to 5. It sucks up so much of your energy and time. Sometimes you get home. I remember feeling like this. You just get home and you just want to sit because it's physically and mentally exhausting. And like and when my every single day it's very hard for me to become physically and mentally exhausted over the work I'm doing because I'm doing work that I want to do, right? So a lot of times it doesn't feel like work. Mm-hmm. And I think just that mental energy I have way more of it than when I did work and I had to go in. Yeah, it's interesting because my wife works for an amazing company, and she loves she's the opposite in that sense, and I don't know if I'm not saying which one's better or worse, but having been on both, and it's only been 3 years, I do love this lifestyle, and it works right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember a few years ago, I had only really done the I don't even remember how long. Time starts to run together once you get old.
You're not even old. Dude.
I know. I'm just playing. But yeah, I remember like I went out to Colorado after being in this position where like I had a team that was physically like we would go to the same office. We would have in-person meetings. We did like agile meetings all day. And when I went out to Colorado, I was like, dude, I don't want to do that anymore. Like it got to the point where I was like, it almost starts to feel like a Groundhog Day, right? Mm-hmm. So you just like, you go to the same office, you go to the same desk, and you sit there, and you have your morning meeting, and then you go do your stuff, and all of a sudden, like, time just starts, like, going by. Mm-hmm. And I just don't feel like at that moment I was as aware. Like, it's like the travel thing where you were able to problem solve and think through things. I feel like that kind of goes away when you get into, like, that same routine every day. It's like, okay, 8 o'clock, I'm at the desk, 8:15, I have my meeting, work until noon, take my lunch, and you just kind of, I don't know, it's just, I know there's some research supporting this, so I'm not going to try to like quote it or anything, because I'll probably do it wrong, and someone's going to be like, that's not how it works. But from my understanding, the way your brain works is like when you do something like driving to work, like you drive to the same place over and over again, eventually you just don't even remember driving there, because it's just like so ingrained, right? So that happens when you go to the same workplace and do the same things over and over again. It just like you look up and it's 4 o'clock, or you look up and it's a year later. That's
scary.
I know, right? And I could feel that happening, and I was like, okay. So I read a few different books on like the whole concept of I'll just call it one of the books was Deep Work by Cal Newport. And he was talking about the benefits of like moving around or different places. I think that was that book. Either that or I'm like misremembering which one it was. But basically when you go to a new place, I think Colin Wright talked about this in our interview too. You go to a new place, you're more aware, because it's like your brain is looking for threats, right? Or looking for new things or different things. So when you sit down, like time slows down because you're creating all these new synapses, right? Or I'm probably using the wrong terminology, but you're creating all these new neural pathways. So you're more aware. You have to pay more closer attention to your surroundings. So you're more aware of what you're doing. You're thinking more clearly about your project or whatever you're working on. So when I made that call and started doing that, like I noticed that in Prague too. I was like, man, I feel so focused while I'm here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'll chime in on the other side, because like I've had conversations with people who did work remote, and then they ended up coming back, or like now go to a co-working space, which is I do as well. Mm-hmm. And like one of my dreams was always to be a stay-at-home working dad. And like right now I'm in the position to do that. We're still a couple years away from having kids, but I've also heard that could be a terrible idea. Like that there may be a day where I'm like, I need to go to work. I need to go away from home to disconnect or to get out of that. And like I have funny, hilarious, and awesome conversations with dads about people who argue or talk about both ways.
Yeah.
So all I know is like, I'm flexible. Whenever is gonna be best for the lifestyle. That's what I want. I feel fortunate enough to be in a position to have that option where most people don't have the option.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be an interesting job, a stay-at-home working dad. I think we can wrap up the first part of the interview there. So I just have a couple. I might have asked you this the last time you were on, but I'm going to ask you again. What do you try to do on a daily basis that you feel like makes your day a win?
Right now, I feel like I'm in a phase of I'm actually not reading every single day. And I used to be like really gung ho about reading every single day and taking new things, and I think I overdid it. That's a thing. Maybe I sound like a fool, but I feel like I was constantly reading, constantly taking courses, and I wasn't taking enough action every single day. So like I am not reading in the traditional form of a book. Of course, I'll still learn from my Facebook feed and really like bite-sized stuff. And so for me, I feel like I'm winning if I am testing something new. This is very specific to what I do, but like basically a new set of research and a new launch of a campaign to try to sell something and try to make more money. So if I am doing at least one, and I say that I usually tap out at like 3 per day, I feel like I've made progress, and that where I can feel like I can, and that's on top of everything else. So you said what makes me feel like I win.
Yeah.
Like, because I have clients and I have to deliver upon those clients. I have students. I have to deliver as a good teacher. So those are all my normal stuff. Now, what makes me feel win, like I've progressed further than what I have, is if I've created something that has a potential to make more income. So specifically, if I launch at least one to those 3 different campaigns, then I feel like I've won the day.
And now my next question, which I'm going to lead into because you said you used to read a lot. Most impactful book that you've read, or if you had to gift one book to someone and you could only gift one, which one would it be?
You know, one book that I think made a big impact on my wife and I, and it helped encourage us, was like The Miracle Morning, actually, which you've had as a guest, right?
No.
Oh, you haven't
but
as a guest.
I've read the book.
Oh, you read the book.
I should get Hal Elrod is his name.
Yeah,
I should
yes.
get him on. He'd be awesome.
I just think it was a good book that can apply, and it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or you're a 9-to-5 person, or it doesn't matter if you're a doctor even. Like, this book can apply to a lot of people, and it's just about reconstructing the way you do your mornings to have a better day. And it's made me a morning person, and I wasn't. I was a night owl, and it also made me really think about like a mindset, a huge crash course on like the power and the potential of what a morning can do for the rest of your day. Because like before, I would wake up, hit the snooze button a couple times, and then I would get ready for work and I'd go to work. And like the biggest thing you learn from that book is like that time can be better constructed to do work on yourself. By the time you get into work, you're already awake. You're not dragging ass, and you've already knocked out a couple things that make you feel proud of who you are and what you're doing, and to progress you. And then, because the truth is, when you get into your office and you check your email, then everyone else takes little parts of your day. Mm-hmm. So like this book it gave me the opportunity to really take care of me within that time set. But
yeah. I
know other people who are successful and they're not a morning person, and that prime time is like at 1 a.m. and but so it's not tied to a morning, but I do have a profound appreciation for mornings now because of that book.
Yeah, there was one concept that I picked up out of the book that that really meant a lot to me, and that was basically how you invest your time equals your future results. Mm-hmm. Like it's almost like a math formula, right? Like if you spend 2 hours a day launching campaigns and educating yourself on e-commerce, that's going to equal some type of success. Now, if you bump that number up to 10 hours a week or whatever, or more, that's going to equal some other level of success. So, and you add in working, I don't know, it's just like a math formula. The amount of time you invest and the intensity of that time equals your future results. Adrian, is there any type of message that you would like to leave our audience with today?
I think, as opposed to a takeaway message, I always try to be an open book. My life right now is consumed by I feel like I'm in a big work phase of my life because I don't have kids. I don't have a lot of distractions. So if anyone has aspirations to learn about YouTube, I have over 750,000 subscribers across a few different niches, or e-commerce, or an agency, or just wants to do a side hustle. I'm an open book there. I guess one thing I think about, of like all these random little things I've done in my life, like I feel like I've been true to the saying of like, show the world what you want to do first before you tell the world. And like a lot of times when I do something, I when I'm thinking about doing something, as opposed to running the idea by someone, I usually will just try it. And I'd rather tell someone, hey, I've launched this, or I created this, and then share with that person, versus I know a lot of people are vice versa, and they're constantly talking about doing something and trying something, and then months go by and they're still talking about it. So I think I feel like we all underestimate what we can do every single day. So if you as opposed to if you're one of those people like talking about that stuff, try doing it first and then talk about it later. And I think we all underestimate like what we can do, because I think there's a lot of time for us to do everything we want to do, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Last question. If anybody wants to find your stuff or get a hold of you, how would they do so?
Yeah, Instagram handles the Adrian Brambila. And if they want to learn more about like my course, it's searchengineconquest.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap for this show. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Trevor Carlson, and I appreciate you taking the time to stop by, and whether it's viewing our episodes or listening to our podcast or reading our blog posts, all of you guys really help keep this show going. So I much appreciate your time and attention, and hopefully we provided a little bit of value for you. Now, if you're interested and you think you might enjoy getting some blog posts, emails, other podcasts, guides, any of that sort of thing sent to your inbox every week, go ahead and head over to theFormulaPodcast.com and sign up for our email list today. That's a wrap for this week's show. Thanks again, everyone, for stopping by, and I look forward to you tuning in next time.